Can I picture?
You absolutely can. I can.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be picking rose hips.
Alright, so we're gonna start picking some rose hips. Rose hips are very good for you. They're high in vitamin C. This is our first time picking rose hips, but we got us a big bush here, as you can see right behind me. A huge bush of rose hips. It goes way up, and we're gonna pick them. We're gonna dry some. We're gonna make some tincture out of some, and who knows what else, but very high in vitamin C. It's a nutritious food, and so join us as we take this adventure.
Well, you're gonna lose it. Is it mushy?
Yeah.
I don't want it mushy. Ow! Maybe Papa can pull that one down for you. These are up high.
Papa, can you clip that branch? Here. That's nice.
Hold this. Good bright red rose hips, which are the good ones to pick. They're nice and solid still. You got some that looks like they've froze because they're falling off, and they're really gushy and soft. And although they're probably still good, they're not something that I want to pick and use because they're just gushing and falling apart. So everything we've seen in red is pick them while they're still a little bit firm this time of year and before they get gushy. So that's what we're doing. This will be fun. Okay, we're back at the house now after picking our rose hips. As you can see, we've got quite a few in here. So the next step is going to be to wash them off. We're going to run them under cold water, let it run and overflow a little bit. Cut the stems off and just rinse them out. Once they're done that, then we will let them drain and go from there. So let's get this thing washed and cleaned up. As you can see, they're full of seeds. The seeds have a bunch of little hairs on them. The hairs are a little bit irritating. So the idea is to cut them in half after washing them and try and get as many of the seeds and the hairs out as possible so it's less cleanup after they're dried. But you can do it either way, and we're going to do it both ways. So I'm doing some completely cleaned and some that'll be dried whole minus the flower ends. They'll be dried whole like that. So we'll see. So far we tried drying them 3 different ways, and they've been going for a little over, I think, 10 hours at 350 degrees. These ones are ones that I cut in half and cleaned everything out of. They dried good and will be ground up into a powder as is. These ones we just cut in half and left the seeds in there. They're good and dry. They'll be chopped into smaller chunks and then run through a sieve so that the hairs fall out. We get rid of the hairs, but we can still grind down the seeds and the outer portion for the powder. And then the whole rose hips that we did, some of them still aren't dry. As you can see, this one here is still a little gushy, but they can be run into the chopper and chopped, and we can dry them some more once we run them through a sieve and get rid of the hairs. So it's kind of where we're at so far. Well, I got a lot of the hairs out. You can see right there in the bottom of the sink. We're going to do it a couple more times in there. Supposedly they say the seeds are healthy for you too, it's just not the hairs. So I'm going to pulse it a couple more times. So after running it through the food processor just on pulse, that's all the hairs we got out of that. I don't know, it's probably a cup and a half of dried rose hips. So it worked pretty good getting the hairs out. Now we're gonna go on and probably grind it up and make it into powder. Okay, so we have been drying the rose hips. We have been grinding some rose hips.
Is that what? So these were rose hips that we dried whole.
Yes, and we put them in the dehydrator with some of the half ones and the cleaned ones.
These tea bags that we made were ones that you had cut in half and cleaned out because of the little hairs in them. Mm-hmm. So these are going to have the hairs.
Yes.
So I put a few in there. Okay, it's going to be loud. And they're really hard, so I don't know how well this is going to cut it up.
So the rose hips are extremely high in vitamin C. A little research that I did, or that we did, was back in, I believe it was the First World War in England, because things were so hard to come by, they actually had people going out picking rose hips to supplement the vitamin C for the families. So they would grind it up and make a powder and make a tea, or they'd add some of it to their food to get the vitamin C out of it. So it is a superfood.
So do you want to bring one of the cameras and show all the fine hairs? Because this is what we didn't clean out, and that's what causes the irritant.
Yes.
And so after
grinding them up and going, Lily, no, go lay down. That's our wonderful puppy, the year-old, 101 pounds of her. Anyway, so we put them in the sieve, and there's the video that you saw of us shaking it out gets all the hairs out. But then once we get it all cleaned up, we went online and found us some tea bag filters.
Not filters, they're tea bags.
Tea filters.
They're cotton, I think, is what it was.
And then we took a tablespoon of the ground.
Oh, I have a couple of...
Took a tablespoon of the ground rose hips, put it in there.
And this is what we get.
Yep. And this is what it looks like in the water.
So I had watched on YouTube a couple places about tinctures, and that you can use it to put it in your food, in your drinks, and you're not putting just the product. And so I don't know a whole lot about it. It's just kind of a trial and error right now, but it's basically rose hips and 100 proof. The alcohol has to be more than the water content to include the water content in whatever.
It's recording.
Good. What do you want to say?
So we're talking about the tincture. What she's saying is you got to keep the alcohol above the level of the fruit at all times. And because it's a dehydrated fruit, it's absorbing the liquid. And so it's going to go down a little bit. And then once it fully absorbs, then you just keep adding alcohol until it's above the level of the fruit. The other thing that we learned was you need to use roughly 100 proof alcohol in there. So like we bought some Everclear, which is 190 proof. So we can dilute that down a little bit with some water, as long as it's up there, because like we talked about before, is the alcohol helps inhibit or stops any bag bacterial growth. And because rose hips are so high in vitamin C, once this thing is done, after sitting, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, you just take an eyedropper and 4 or 5 drops into your coffee or whatnot, and you're getting the vitamin C shot that the rose hips will come from. Is that right?
I guess, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but they also said, or you had said you read that it needed to add lemon to it.
Yes, so we're going to try the tea now. It's been sitting here steeping for a while. You want to taste it? Give it a sip before we add lemon? Kind of a flowery,
Citrusy. I don't know. Yeah. I think Like I had said, I think one of the things that would work great is if we had lemon peel and dehydrated it and added it to the tea bags, and then you can add honey.
Yeah, I think that adds just a little bit more of a kick to it.
Yeah.
And I put in like 5 drops of lemon juice. So yeah, it's a good, easy drinking tea. It's a shot of vitamin C. It's, you know, it was fun to do. So if you're find a spot for some rose hips, which you want to pick right at the very first frost if you can. Not a heavy hard frost, but just the first frost.
Because it supposedly makes them sweeter.
Yes, and then you don't want to get gushy ones. So if
Right.
they're gushy, just don't use those. You want to get the firm ones. And then just remember that the hairs inside are an irritant. And so you want to process those out however you do it. Like, we're going to use the whole rose hips for more tincture once we get this one done, and on our trial and error, we'll let you know a later date on that. I think the tea bags worked great for what we did.
These are our chaga ones.
And those of you who don't know what chaga is, it's a they call it the king of mushrooms. I don't necessarily know if it's a true mushroom, but it grows only on birch trees. And it has a ton of medicinal benefits to you. And so you can do 2 different things. You can do a tincture with it, which we do have a jar already soaking. And this one will have to have some alcohol added to it.
You also, it said you want to
Shake them.
Shake them up.
You want to shake anything you're doing tincture with, you need to shake it every day.
Yeah.
But the alcohol pulls out certain medicinal properties out of the chaga. When it's all said and done, you can actually dry the chaga out, and then you can boil it, or not boil it, but simmer it in a hot water and get additional properties out of it from a different type of extraction, which is the water. And we do that on a regular basis.
You have one in the fridge?
We make our own chaga tea. We've been drinking it every day. It's very good, and it's got a lot of health benefits to it. And it's kind of like a coffee substitute. It's not as strong or bitter as a coffee.
I don't know if I would go coffee substitute because you're not getting caffeine from it. I would keep it more at a decaffeinated tea. Decaffeinated tea.
Yes, but it's good for your lungs. It's good for your skin. It's got what they say is it's got some cancer fighting agents in it.
Specifically, from what I read, lung cancer was one of them. Worked, and I'm not quite sure how it worked on the chemo and radiation side of it as well. And then kidney cancer
Or kidney functions.
Yeah.
So there's just a whole lot of benefits to it, and we actually like it.
Yeah.
You know, it's something, like I said, we've been drinking every day.
He adds it to his coffee. I put a little bit of honey in mine and just drink it.
It's good for your gut health. For those of you that are into gut health, it's good for that. So that's just another thing in this chaga that comes off the Alaska property, and we've been using that.
Now I'm kind of hoping, one of the things I have is I have asthma, and so I do a steroid inhaler twice a day, morning and night, and then of course I have my rescue inhaler. And so I'm kind of curious to see if I feel like I get any better lung function adding this, because irritants, smokes, lots of pollens, heavy exertion, that all, I can really feel it, and so I'll be curious to see if it helps.
So that's kind of what we've been up to, experimenting with rose hips and doing our chaga that I brought back, and we will do a video here this winter of actually going out and showing you what the chaga looks like on the tree and how we collect it. Then it needs to dry for about 6 weeks. At least needs to get to a good dry level because you don't want to grow any mold or bacteria in it. The chaga as itself, as it comes, will you hold this? The chaga is this. Did you tap it? Chaga is this. It actually, this piece was about this big. And so I had to break it down into small pieces. You can take it, once it's dry like this, you put it in water that's roughly 140 to 160 degrees and let it steep for about 3 hours. And then you can take it out, let it dry again, and you can use it over and over 3-4 times. And it's still drawing some of the benefits out. So that's kind of what the chaga looks like. It's very hard, dense product, but so at this point in time, I hope you enjoyed our video.
You gonna tell them about our trip coming up?
Well, like I said, we're going to Alaska.
Well, I know, but it's not just you and I going to Alaska.
No, we're gonna go. We're taking a winter trip. We always go up in the winter. Now, I've only been back for 2 weeks, but we're turning around here in another couple weeks and gonna fly back up to Alaska. We're gonna take Lily, our dog, and we're taking Ari, our daughter, back up there to have some fun in the snow. Again, we'll get a little bit of video on the chaga on the tree because it's okay to pick it when it's frozen out. And so hopefully it'll be a fun experience. It'll be the first time we've taken our dog up there, and we've got a harness for her. Maybe she'll even pull our little toboggan for us because she loves to pull. So.
Ari is super excited about going up and being in the snow, and I thought one of a fun thing, well, I'll tell you later, to do with her.
Okay.
So
I guess
anyway.
more surprises are in there for me.
More
So
surprises.
that's it.
That's it.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed it. So God bless.
And hugs.
You guys have a blessed Christmas, and thank you for watching.
Bye.